Here we go into game 32. Up against Warlock. Gonna want to mulligan as if it's discard Warlock.
Forest fights back.
Plated Beetle, I really kind of want to mulligan it. It's just the body doesn't line up very well against their minions. We really want 3 attack minions to deal with Malchezaar's Imp.
Side effects? No.
Mistress of Mixtures, we're definitely not against discard Warlock.
This'll be good.
Looks like either Cubelock or Mechathune Warlock. If it's Mechathune Warlock, we just need Dirty Rat or Loatheb. If it's Cubelock, we need to cycle through our deck while not losing the board, and then try to just win by outvaluing them with duplicating Zephyrus or Enzoth. I decided to play the Mishvin here over the Tar Creeper because it's better against a file. If they trade their 2/2 in our Tar Creeper 1/3, then we have a 3 health minion which can chain up to our Fendrel or other minions. With the Mishvin, if they trade into it, it's a 2 health minion which is further away from Fendrel. Here, I decided to not play Fendrel. It would be too easy for them to do a Plague of Flames to remove him. So I decided we're just going to try and keep the board clear until it's safe to play Fendrel. Void Caller, so it looks like Cubelock. We could do a number of things here. I decide I want to pop the cube and mulch whatever comes out so they can't cube it on the following turn. However, a Void Lord comes out, and I'm quite fine if they cube that. And so I rather would save the mulch for Mal'Ganis or a Doomguard or even a Dreadlord. So we just pass the turn. Skull, that's bad news for us. We need to draw Zephyrus fast, or that could easily snowball the game. Witchwood Piper could draw Zephyrus. However, we wouldn't be able to play him this turn, and I just want to put a bit more stats out there, which is what our Kartut Defender will offer. Skull pulls out a Doomguard. They trade in with it before cubing it, it looks like here. If they do cube it, we have a chance of drawing either Spellbreaker or Zephyrus or Witchwood Piper into Zephyrus to silence it. We definitely need to silence it. If we let it live, they can copy it with Faceless Manipulator, or some decks like to run Prince Tal'Darim. So definitely going to go for the Witchwood Piper. I do consider Loatheb. Maybe we can just stop them from popping the cube. and it puts more stats than the Piper does, but we gotta silence that cube. We don't draw the Zephyrus, so we gotta think about what are we gonna do with this turn. I consider mulching so they can't copy it. That doesn't work, so I just don't like putting out the 2 5/7s. It's too much pressure. We're gonna hope they can't copy the cube. So the question with the Druid of the Swarm is, do we play the Poisonous or not? If we play the Poisonous, that might give them a Defile clear that also pops the cube. And so I do some math, and I think if I bump their Void Lord with my Tar Creeper, I can make the Poisonous, and it won't give them the easy Defile clear. Otherwise, if we don't attack with the Tar Creeper, they just bump in their cube, and it gives them a Defile clear that pops the cube. Here, they don't have an easy Defile clear. Don't like to see that Faceless Manipulator on a cube. Now here it's very interesting. Our opponent goes face with their other cube. I'm not sure why they do that. I would have definitely traded into our... Oh, I see why. Plague of Flames. They just want to make all the Doom Guards, which is 20 damage, putting us down to 6. So we're pretty much Zephyrus or bust at this point. That's not Zephyrus. That's well played from our opponent.
Well played. I can't win them all.
Not much we really could have done there. Maybe if we had mulched the cube, things might have gone differently. We would have still definitely been in a losing position. But maybe we would have had some more chances. So here we go into game 33. Opponent is Warrior. Most likely Pirate Warrior. Could be Dead Man's Hand or Odd Warrior. But we don't need a mulligan against those. Against those we'll have the time to draw the cards we need. It's Pirate. That time is a factor, and we want the cards in our starting hand to be good for that aggressive matchup. Don't want to keep any of these expensive spells. The only expensive spell we'd really keep would be Reno. Speaking of Reno, there he is. That's good to see. Rising Winds is not super great here. The 2 health is very easy for them to clear from the Eagle. Mulch is actually okay. If we can remove a Pirate Captain or a Sky Barge, that's pretty good. No play from our opponent. I'm thinking maybe they are Dead Man's Hand Warrior. There's no Baku hero power, so it's either Pirate or Dead Man's Hand, but there is a Ship's Cannon. It's Pirate. We don't want to play out any stats into the cannon. It'll just get shot down, and our minions matter. So we're just going to draw with the Rising Winds. Wait till they play their Pirates. Then we'll start fighting for board. The Wrath is excellent. The Wrath with the Keeper Steladris next turn is going to be excellent. And that's definitely going to be the play. We need to start clearing up the board. The question is do we Wrath the Pirate Captain or the Ship's Cannon? I decided to go for the Ship's Cannon. They're likely to have more pirates in their hand, and I can Wrath the Captain next turn with the other half. The only way we really get punished by this is if they have another Captain, allowing the Patches to trade into our Steladris. And then putting the first Captain slightly out of range of a single Wrath. Luckily for us, there's no second Captain. And no weapon yet from our opponent here. They've only got 3 cards left in hand. Definitely want to remove that Captain. And then we can either play a 1/5, we can hero power, we can cycle with Wrath. I don't want to play the 1/5. I want to just remove their minions and then play our taunts. Decide to cycle instead of hero power. Not sure about that. We don't really need to draw more cards with this hand. It might have been better to keep the extra 1 damage in our hand in case we need it.
Blood and plunder.
Dread Corsair. That's just a terrible turn for our opponent. Still no weapon. We could do Bees and Druid of the Swarm, but I think I just want to clear up all their minions with Oasis Surger. Once the board is clear, that's when we'll start playing our taunts to stop their weapon attacks. If we played our taunts first, it allows them to clear our taunts with their weapon and push damage with their creatures, which is why we want to remove their creatures and then play our taunts. Sky Barge, not too scary since they only have 3 cards left in hand. Our turn, so we could Bees and Hero Power down the Sky Barge, but with just 2 cards left in our opponent's hand, don't really see the need. I do consider Reno Jackson this turn. We would gain a good amount of health, put a 4/6 on the board. But I think we end up going with Loatheb. I want to put out stats definitely to contest this Sky Barge. And I think I want to save Reno in case we need to heal later on. This is a little risky. If our opponent plays 3 pirates and shoots down the Loatheb, we could be in a little bit of trouble. But any minion we play against that, we'd be in trouble against.
Treasure? Loot? What more can I ask for?
Horde Pillager with no weapons destroyed. And you can just see, also Bloodsail Cultist, you can just see how crippled the pirate deck is when they don't get a weapon. And so this is why I think the pirate lists that run the Corsair cache is actually the right way to go, because you can just see how the pirate deck is really just has terrible minions when they don't have a weapon. So we're just going to keep clearing up minions. Gonna put up the Tark Creeper. We put up the Tark Creeper over the Mishfin because the Mishfin dies quite cleanly to the 4/2, whereas the Tark Creeper survives with 1 HP. Sharkfin Fan. And no weapons. Healthy deckhand and no weapon. This has got to be a pirate warrior's nightmare. And here I am. I haven't even had to play Reno yet. I can duplicate it with Elise. I've got armor gain. It's just looking like there's really no way out for our opponent. So I'll just keep putting minions on the board. What I'm doing here is kind of trying to clear out my hand for a sweet Elise duplicate. I'm thinking I also want a hero power and trade into their Sharkfin Fan. At this point, I don't think there's any combination of cards Pirate Warrior could draw to beat the hand we have. But our opponent doesn't know that yet, so they're probably going to keep playing out to the very end.
I wonder.
Pirates away!
Parachute Brigand. And they see the writing on the wall. That's a good game. Well, good for us, not so good for our opponent. That was pretty bad of a hand. Okay, so here we go, game 33.
Lunara versus Uther. I will fight with honor.
Up against Paladin. Hand buff is very likely. Murloc Paladin is a possibility. And Odd Paladin is also a possibility. Mulch is good against the Murloc and the hand buff. Plated Beetle's good against Odd, and it's okay against hand buff. And it's pretty good against Murlocs. So that's why we decided to keep those two. Reno Jackson's pretty nice against all of those. It's a good draw. No Baku hero power, so it's either hand buff or Murloc Paladin.
I must move quickly.
That's what I'm thinking at this point. So I'm definitely wanting to coin out now a 2-drop, since we just drew into a card that is essentially 2 more 2-drops. So we're going to play the Plated Beetle. Now the turn following we can either hero power or Rising Winds for a 3/2, and then turn 3 we can also Rising Winds or hero power, depending what we need. So a hero power here. So I'm thinking it's not Murloc Paladin, it's probably hand buff. Murloc Paladin would want to have played something by then. And then we see Call to Adventure. And I realize we're up against some homebrew, some deck I don't know about. So I don't really know what to do. I decided just to draw, try to get to Zephyrus. Zephyrus beats most homebrew decks. So let's get Zephyrus. Or Enzoth. True Silver Paladin and Face. And this is such an odd play to see that I'm thinking our opponent is probably some OTK with maybe Shirvala. I just wanted to play the 4-drop that turn, not much else to play. And then I see Aldor Truthseeker, and now I think I know what we're up against. Although that face attack is still kind of confusing me. So the Aldor, so what this deck is, I've played against it once. It's a pretty cool deck. They use Librams to cast a bunch of spells, and they of course want to reduce the cost to 0. And I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one that's 2 mana, gives a minion +1/+1. When it dies, it returns the spell to their hand. So let's look at this turn here. So I want to play the Poisonous. Lines up pretty nicely. Can't remember what my plan was for this turn. Oh, I see. I was thinking they might have Consecration, and that would explain that face attack with their weapon. So I want to trade off my minions and just put something out that'll contest whatever they play. So what this deck does is it's actually an OTK deck with the Death Knight Uther, and then they use Auction. I think his name is Auction Master Beardo. He's a 3-mana 3/4. He refreshes your hero power whenever you play a spell, and what you do is you build up those free Librams, and you get extra copies via Ooze or I think it's Lady Liadrin. So here we're just going to play our 5-drop, trade off. And so you have these, you get extra copies of this 0-mana spell. It's a Libram that's discounted to 0. So you play Auction Master Beardo, and then with those 0-mana spells, you can summon 4 of the 4 horsemen and OTK your opponent. It's really easy for us to stop that if we get Lotheb or Dirty Rat, like we need against most combo decks. We can stop it. And unless they get some Emperor Thorson tick, they cannot do it. They cannot do the combo on an empty board. They need at least one of the horsemen to start with. So as long as we keep them clear of that, that's another way to stop them. And so here I decide to just go for Lotheb. They have not put up much pressure, and with Lotheb, Zola Lotheb on the next turn, and then Floop on the turn after that, I'm thinking that's just lethal. Even their Librams are going to be difficult to cast.
Let me light the way.
So, at least that OTK deck is the one I've seen with Librams before. This deck might be different because the one I played against last time did not run Call to Adventure or this 3-mana 2/5. So, still, the way our opponent's playing, I think it's got to be the OTK, maybe just different card choices. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that because we just lock our opponent out with Lotheb. And there's not much they can do. They could time out, technically. And Uther would save them here. Uther's so much health. It's the 5 armor and then the 5 lifesteal from the weapon. However, even against that, we have another Lotheb. We can put some more stats down with it, and it'll be very difficult for our opponent to stabilize. Opponents, it looks like if there's a way out, they wouldn't be thinking about it this long. So, most likely, they are rage quitting. Fortunately, this is what happens sometimes when you play with strange off-meta decks, like whatever deck my opponent is playing. You lose a lot, and it can be frustrating. Definitely going down to the rope. Looks like a rage quit.
Let me think.
All right. 2 wins in a row. Not the greatest of games, but their wins will take them.